Alrighty, good morning ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another video. So last couple of videos, or really all videos on this channel, are quote-unquote highly edited, which you have to do for fishing videos. I mean, we're out here 8, sometimes 10 hours a day, and we got to fit that all in a 15 to 20 minute video. And it's really the highlights of the day. And for me, that's, you know, not necessarily catching fish, but maybe trying to figure out how to catch fish, trying to piece together the puzzle, the pattern, and as you guys are very well aware, sometimes skunking. So today I thought we'd mix it up. That's a style of video that you guys have requested. I've done in the past, and it's just a section of time really of uncut, unedited fishing, seeing how everything goes in real time, you know, such as hopefully catching fish, but you know, cast, lure selection, tying knots, just give you a real true perspective as to how I go about a day of fishing in a certain amount of time. So I think we're gonna do maybe an hour today. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll go a little bit longer. But we are on the Delta again. Like I said, last 2 trips have been kind of tough. We've fished like 16, 17 hours and had 5 fish. So this may not be the best time of year to be doing this kind of video for fish catching, but it will be a puzzle. I'm sure we're gonna have to try a lot of stuff, and you know, it'll give you guys a perspective as to how I try to go about fishing the Delta this time of year. So yeah, California Delta. It is 7:43 a.m. I have just got to the spot I wanted to fish. Yet to make a cast, yet to really look at anything. So let's see how this goes. And as always for these style of videos, I will you know, at the end recap the entire day, just to let you guys know how things ultimately ended up. So we've got the chesty running, rear camera's running. I think cameras should be good, but yeah, let's get started fishing, see how it goes. This look good right here, angle wise. Man, what do we start with? Oh, and by the way, guys, I will put chapters in the description as to maybe important events during this allotted time. Hopefully there's a lot of important events, but I have no idea. Starting at a high tide. Actually, this tide is still incoming. You can see the water still moving in. But I wanted to get to this particular section on an outgoing tide. That's usually, this time of year, my favorite tide for catching fish. Yeah, let's see. Man, I don't even know what to throw. Got all of our usual Delta baits this time of year. Chatterbait, flat-sided crank, cheater jig, some punch stuff, drop shot Senko. And got some other stuff too, spinner baits, lipless. Kind of actually wish I tied a spinner bait on. We'll see. Yeah, last couple of trips have been kind of mixed results. Last trip was really tough. Took us, you know, I think 6.5 hours to get a bite on a drop shot. Caught a couple more on a 6-inch general, and it was really all in like a 30-minute window that we caught those fish. And funnily enough, it was when this tide started moving out So that tide can certainly play a role in those fish feeding windows or bite windows, or really positioning fish to where you can put your bait more effectively and get them to bite. So you get to see all the goodies today, all the snags, all the nonsense. There's some trees up in here. Gosh. See, this is the stuff that usually wouldn't make the video cut, right? No one wants to see that. I'm gonna try not to motor around too much during this time period. Trying to fish as much as I can, so we don't have just raw footage of me motoring around for 20 minutes of it. One thing that's hard to see is a lot of these places on the bank that I'm casting are choked full of grass. Obviously you guys can't see that, but maybe you can see on the sides or on the Ray Marine. Just grass, thick, choked. Now of course there are some bare spots, which I like or I want for this jig, but you just don't know. Delta changes every year. One year you could be fishing an area that is choked full of grass. Another year it could be clean bottom. We're getting a lot of grass. Well, are you gonna retie something? One box for the Delta from me right now. Underspin. Spinnerbait. See, this is maybe why these videos are good for some folks. You can see in real time these knots. These knots on an edited video take me about 5 seconds to show, but you can see the reality of these knots right here. They don't take that short a time. See, this high tide, you can't see all this wood in the water. There's a ton of it. When this tide drops, it'll all be exposed. Just kind of hoping right now that these fish might be lurking around up shallow, and they'll smoke one of our baits. See, I can't see that wood. Oh, super shallow up there. So I'm casting up in like 6 inches of water over here. Good to know, good to know. Really think the game plan today is fish this stretch. It's a couple 100 yards at least. Up and down, trying some different stuff. Kind of fish it relatively fast to start. Hopefully get a bite or two and then slow down with some finesse maybe. Tons of trees up in there. Might have to go back to that crankbait. This time of year, definitely have had way better luck when it's cloudy, overcast, windy. Sunny skies, calm water. They tend to be the harder days. Looks good, right? I've said this before, that's the problem on the Delta. Everything looks good. Everything is visually appealing out here. Oh, hit a tree. God, I would love to get smoked on the little grub bait, throwing it up in a tree and just cracking them. Our two bigger fish of the last 5, or really the first trip on the Delta a couple videos ago, have been on the punch, buried under a mat. And then the trip after that, we didn't get a single bite on the punch and had to finesse them. Adjust your cast. Hit a tree. Tide is still incoming. I think the tide switches around 8:30 or so. So we got a little time before this tide. Actually, you know what? Never mind. Tide did switch. It looks like it's starting to push out, which is what we want. Might be too thick. Well, we got through. Might be a little too thick for a 1 ounce weight. really getting through. That's also why we rigged up a one and a half ouncer. That's kind of why you have multiple rods or a bunch of rods. Not just for the Delta, but for anywhere. Situational, you know? You're only going to bring one punch rod, and then you can't get through something, so you're going to have to cut your weight off, your hook, retie, get back in there. Nah, just bring two rods. Trying to think of all the times we've done a video like this. We've done 30 minutes. That's what we started with, 30 minutes raw. And I think we've gone up to an hour a couple of times, but I don't think we've ever been skunked in that window. So hopefully we end up getting one today. Continue on that trend. We'll see though, this is definitely probably the toughest time of year conditions-wise and whatnot for us to actually statistically get bit compared to the other times. That is kind of the beauty though, you know, come here in April, May, yeah, we toss around a chatterbait, a Senko, drop shot, catch fish pretty much throughout the time period, I assume. We really wouldn't have to change stuff. We wouldn't have to mix it up and try to figure them out. This, at least, we're always guessing. Starting to get pretty choked up with grass back here. You can probably see it. It's a spot that's kind of hard to fish on the low tide. That's why we figured we hit it this time at high tide. throw that crankbait back here, but this grass is definitely a lot more overgrown than last time we were here, and you could actually fish a crankbait without getting hung up in the grass. This is high tide too, guaranteed. When it's low tide today, this is all going to be grass. Like, you won't even be able to fish it, which is kind of a trip if you think about it, because there's clearly fish here. There should be. Just like, what do they tuck under the grass in like a foot of water? They go out to the channel? I don't know. I'm sure there's some deeper spots or holes here somewhere. I don't know about the spinnerbait. We might need a little wind or cloud cover for this dude. It's kind of hard to fish anything else right now. At least this is coming through clean. Grass is thick. And cast down the middle. Gotta do that every so often. Delta's definitely a bank beating kind of fishery for the most part, but every so often, give a toss out in the middle. You never know. The way this is setting up though, it's almost harder to fish the middle. The grass is more choked up in the middle. It's actually shallower. At least on the bank there's a little more depth. We're still choked. Yeah, see? Choked the grass. Just casting your jig into a bunch of grass. It's almost like the cleaner spots are closer to the bank. Just don't know if we're going to be able to actually fish this, which is a bummer. It's kind of what I was banking on back here. I was cranking them. I knew the conditions were going to be less than ideal. And this is a good way to kind of force feed them, get them to react. Just try to hold the rod tip up a little higher. Yeah, so this spot last year is actually where we did really good in February. And we did good on a blade bait, underspin and spinner bait. Came back a couple of times and did well, and then one of the times it was conditions like this. Times before it was cloudy, windy, overcast. Then the day we came and it was nice, couldn't get bit on the blade. So we switched over to a frit side, little flat-sided crankbait, and got bit. It's like amazing, you know, if I had only been there the one time on that nice day last year and came through with the spinnerbait, wouldn't have got bit, never would have come back, just would have gone over all those fish. Never knew they were there. Just like how important a bait can be sometimes. That's kind of the, I don't know, the sad thing maybe about the Delta too is you probably are fishing over a ton of fish. So many places for them to hide in the Delta, and the grass, the trees, the tules. I mean, it's pretty amazing. It's probably why it's such a healthy fishery too. You know, not just for the bass, but the bait thrives, bluegill. Stuff like that can really tuck up under stuff and kind of coming through clean. It's tough though. It's tough. There's too much grass, dude. Oh no. Ah, shoot. You're wrapped up on a branch. See, this is the stuff you don't see in the videos. Making bad casts. Should be one setting up right here, right? That's perfect. Should say this, full moon last night too. I don't know what that's gonna do for us. Me personally, I try not to pay attention to the moon phases too much. I mean, I know it's important certain times of year, but when I'm going fishing, I'm going fishing. Finally seeing some cleaner bottom. You can see on the graph it got about 4 foot now. Might be able to fish a crankbait a little bit. Let's kind of make a mental note of this area too. When we come back through, we can throw a crankbait or a moving bait through it. Oh, I thought we had one. Got excited. Just grass. We're definitely going to cover some water today. There's a couple of areas back here that we can get to in the kayak if this little stretch ain't working. Gonna put a full 8 hours out here. Maybe longer, we'll see, I don't know. Guess it'll just kind of depend. Like I said, last trip on the Delta, a different part of the Delta, took us like 6 hours just to get our first bite of the day. This time of year, man, you just gotta plan to be out here all day if you want to give yourself the best chance. If they were there, if they're here, they should be eating this thing right now. I'm putting it kind of just above the grass, ticking it. They should swipe at this bait. It's going by them. Water's stained, you know, still got like a foot of visibility. Birds back here, that's always a good sign. Now the plan was to get a bite here somewhere. Maybe go through a couple more times with some reaction baits and moving baits and then slow down. But if I don't get a bite on a reaction, they might not be here. And this little spot here too, we'll probably hit at different times of day. Gonna hit a couple of high tides today. This afternoon it'll go low and then water will start moving back in around 3 o'clock. So we might, if we're still out here, come back around 3 o'clock and check it out. See if that incoming tide's a better bite or if maybe some fish have pushed in. You guys hear that? Sound of a violin beginning. Went away pretty quick, but when that continues, you should swing. Fish could be buried up in this stuff. It could be. And that maybe is why an outgoing or maybe a lower tide will help our bite. Those fish will be forced to push out, be a little more accessible to us. Nobody home? Really good depth back there too. Got some clean bottom too, I believe. You can see on the side scan, it looks like there's some really clean spots on this bank compared to where we started. It was just choked full of grass, so I like that. Yeah, totally. Working this jig through here a lot better. Like, they should be here. I just don't want to cooperate. Whoop. Now the tide's really starting to move. Or not really, but it's picked up. Full moon, big tide swing today. Alrighty, guys. It has been about 1 hour. I think had the bite been a little more epic, or maybe just one bite at all, we would have gone longer, but nothing so far. And I think that's right on the nose. 1 hour of fishing. So I don't know, hopefully, you know, and let me know in the comments below if this is a style of video you guys like. I mean, obviously, like I said, not the best or most opportune time of year to film one of these, but yeah, a little different perspective into a day of fishing for me. And like I said, we've got a full day out here. I mean, it's only 8:44. We're probably gonna, you know, fish another 6-7 hours and see what happens. I will see you guys at home in the bass cave, and we'll recap the day, hopefully with a good report. So we'll see you then. Just got back. If you fast forwarded to this part of the video, our hour-long uncut, unedited fishing resulted in 0 bites, 0 fish. So we fished the rest of the day, another 7.5, 8 hours. And the question is, did we get on fish? Did we skunk? Is there In-N-Out Burger next to me? And the answer is no, we did not skunk. We actually figured them out a little bit. Got on a solid pattern. Had my best numbers day as far as fishing goes on the Delta this year. Just to recap everything that happened, we did that whole deal in that one slough. Obviously, you guys saw that hour-long bit where we didn't get any bites on the spinnerbait, through a chatterbait, through a crankbait, did some punching. We turned around and we ended up fishing it with more finesse baits like the drop shot, a wacky general. No bites, so we ended up leaving that slough. We went to another one just down the way. Really liked the looks of it. I started seeing some green mats right around trees with some depth and some clean bottoms. So we started punching that stuff. It just looked too good. But after a lot of punching, a lot of flips, not a single bite, and we changed over to the old cheater jig, the old Delta cheater jig. Saw a tree, threw it up into the tree, kind of slowly worked it through the limbs. We got thumped, we missed it. I knew it was a bite though. Made another cast back in there, and she got it that time, set the hook. First keeper of the day, skunk out of the boat. Real happy that we got bit on a jig of all things as well. So I thought that could be a little piece of the puzzle, a little hint. And we kept throwing that jig and kept throwing that jig and kept throwing that jig, and we did not get another bite on it. As we were just about to turn around and leave that slough, I saw something, and I'll have to review the footage, but it looked like something eating on top. So we made our way even further back, and wouldn't you know, we looked at the graph, it lit up. Fish everywhere. Didn't know exactly what they were at first, but they happened to be carp jumping, a lot of carp jumping. This one slough was absolutely loaded with carp, and God knows what else was under there. We tried to fish for them a little bit. My bait was just bumping against them. I think most of them were carp. I was hoping maybe there was some striper in the mix, maybe some bass, but didn't get a single bite back there. Ended up leaving there. I think we're about 5 hours into our day now, and we go back to the original slough that we started at. The wind was starting to pick up a little bit. The water was still pretty clear for the most part. Bluebird sky. So we picked up the old Fritz side in a crawfish color, started working the outside weed lines, and I'm not sure, I'll have to look at the footage, but I'm pretty sure we got bit and a small fish jumped off. Wasn't quite sure, wasn't paying attention, but I think we had a bite on that. So we continued on with it. We made our way into another part of the Delta, and by this time, the tide had actually switched and was now moving back in. So the water was rising. We started throwing this Fritz side right along the grass edge. The water was so low that you couldn't throw up on the bank, and a lot of that wood that we were fishing earlier was exposed. So we just moved out about 5-10 yards and fished the grass line and immediately got a bite. Really happy to get our second for sure bite of the day. Put it in the boat. Not a giant, but a fish we will take. And probably about 2 minutes later, right in that same stretch, we caught another fish. Another bite on the crankbait, working it along the grass edge. Put that in the boat. Man, day is turned around. It was looking pretty bad, pretty bleak after that one jig fish and like 5-6 hours of fishing without anything. But now that was 2 fish in quick succession. So to me, that meant Okay, it's a crankbait deal. You need to lock this in your hand for the rest of the day, fish this incoming tide on this grass edge, and that's exactly what we did. Worked our way down that same bank. We weren't getting a ton of bites, but we were getting bites. Ended up picking up another small fish on the crankbait, kept going. Finally, a good bite, and as far as the retrieve went, I was actually burning it. I thought initially it was kind of a slow retrieve, but I was actually burning it right along that grass edge. When it got hung up in some grass and popped off, that would seem to trigger a bite. And this fish was our better fish and probably our biggest fish of the day. Nice 2.5, 3 pound fish maybe. Nice chunky fat largemouth. Keep working, keep working. Another bite. This one right at the boat kind of took me off guard, and it happened. I saw the fish flash, went under the boat, looked like another solid 2.5, 3 pound fish, and she popped off. What are you gonna do? We kept fishing, and I think we may have caught 1 or 2 more fish on the crankbait. And to end the day, had to battle it out, pucker up a little bit, battling some serious winds. Forecast said max of 6-mile-an-hour winds. Looked at the weather app, updated it, changed to 17, blowing from the north. So our ride in was a little dicey, a little sketchy, but we made it. We hugged the bank and went slow. But guys, that is going to do it for today's video. Like I mentioned, a video that I've done before. I don't do a whole lot of them, so let me know in the comments below if this is, a kind of video, a style of video that you guys like to see, and I'll of course do my best to do more of them in the future. But that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.